you're new here, welcome to Hope and Firm Foundations, where we have heart to heart, Christ centered conversations about healthy relationships, and we just keep it real about relationships over here. So, today we're going to be talking about over communication, specifically the iceberg of over communication, the iceberg of being a person who likes to over communicate. Above the water, we usually see the tip of the iceberg, and that's usually our understanding of something. But then when you look underneath the water, that's where we see the iceberg is actually much bigger, and that there might be a lot of underlying things that we maybe didn't consider, didn't think of, but it's not as simple as the tip of the iceberg. And for me, that's communication. And today we're going to be talking about the underlying factors or the things that could be underlying factors of being an over communicator. And just I'm going to be sharing some tips. Well, as we know, in every relationship, communication is important. Communication allows us to share our thoughts, ideas, feelings, fears, breakthrough. You get the idea. Communication is extremely important. However, there is a such thing as over communicating. And you could feel free to disagree, but I believe there's a such thing as over communicating. Something that's not always considered in communication is reciprocity. Reciprocity is important in communication because you never really want to be the person that's always talking, always sharing, always trying to make something happen. In communication, there needs to be a point where the other person you're communicating or you're initiating something with also is receptive to the ideas that you're sharing. Although it is never the goal to be the person that's always communicating and always trying to get your points across and always trying to get your fears, your thoughts across to another person, it happens. I would be lying if I say I don't understand the desire to clear the air and get it all out. But sometimes you just simply do not get the chance to because the person you're speaking to maybe doesn't have the capacity or is just not ready to hear what you're trying to say. And the third option, it's not the final option, but the third option is they're simply not interested in what you have to say. So you trying to communicate, you trying to find new ways to make it clear to them just simply doesn't matter, and that's where they stand. I honestly believe that over communication in a relationship often comes from a place of fear. Comes from a place of fear of losing the relationship. You hope that talking and expressing will hopefully open that person's mind to hear how you're feeling and hopefully make the changes that is necessary to save, preserve, and keep the relationship going. However, that is not always true. Sometimes in confronting an issue doesn't always mean that there's actually that hope of moving forward. You can't move forward if that person A doesn't want to move forward, or B, they are taking no steps to bring the relationship to a different place. I know that's hard to hear because how can the relationship be going bad if I'm in your face, I'm talking to you, I'm sharing with you how I feel, and I'm literally giving you the formula to work on this, to make us work. How is it not working? I'm going to be sharing a couple ideas that I've found is helpful to shift focus. So instead of trying to share everything you feel all the time, write it down. I believe journaling is very powerful. Just write it all out, write what you're feeling, what you want to communicate to that person. Because sometimes over communication can actually come from impulsive reaction to what you're being told. As this person is telling you things that maybe are new to you, that's triggering to you, that you just don't agree with. So it could be really tempting in that moment to be like, you know what, blah, 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 blah. Take a break. When you do revisit the journal later, analyze what you wrote and see which feelings still stand and which ones have passed away. I like to ask myself, are these feelings new? The reason why I ask, are these feelings new, is it gives me perspective on the situation. The next question I ask myself, have I brought up these issues to this person before? And my next one is, how did this person respond? So if it's not new and I brought this issue to this person before, how did they respond last time? And what are the steps they took towards changing it? The next question I ask myself is, did I give them enough time to work on the issues I brought forward? Sometimes when you bring issues towards people, you want it to change now. You said what you said, starting tomorrow or effective immediately, I want you to work on this. Sometimes that's fair, but that's simply not enough time for someone to really just sit back and really start to make certain changes. However, it's not to excuse that they should be taking steps to start to work on the things that you've shared with them. And so after you've considered if you've given them enough time, the next one is, am I satisfied with their effort? That question is so important. And I say this because people are oftentimes doing their best in the capacity that they have. However, you have the right to say, hey, I'm sorry, this does not work for me, this does not meet my needs, and this does not serve the person that I'm trying to become or where I want to go with my life. But once you make a decision that whatever that person is giving you in the relationship does not serve you, you can decide what you do next. The next thing I'm going to say is seek support. I always say seek support because sometimes we think and feel so much, not too much, so much. It's always helpful to speak to a counselor or a therapist that gives you the space to share all your feelings and to help you process and maybe figure out underlying wants and needs. Because sometimes in relationships, especially when we're over communicating, we're over trying, it's so easy to lose yourself and so easy to lose sight of what it is you want. That self work is so important. And I believe you deserve a space where you can authentically show up, where you can be authentically supportive without feeling like what you're going to tell this person is going to upset them, because it's all about you and you deserve that. The next thing I'm going to say is try a hobby or learn a new skill. Nothing boosts your confidence more than learning a new skill or working on a project that you always wanted to work on, or one that you have been putting off the side because you were too busy trying to over communicate with people. Focus on you. Mine is working out. Like I love to work out. Sometimes it's harder to work out, but that's something that I don't push to the side as much because I know that it makes me feel like me. I can't control anything in life, but one thing I'm gonna control is these gains. When you're over communicating, it takes a lot of time and energy to keep pouring into people and trying to convince them of something. Sometimes pouring so much into others can really leave no time for yourself. And the person that's the most deserving of all this energy is you. The next one is to pray. Ask the Holy Spirit to give you discernment. And I'm going to be honest with you. Do not only pray for the Holy Spirit to correct the other person's only. I am notorious. I don't know about y'all, but I am notorious for making justifications for my actions like it's nobody's business. I'd be like, Lord, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong, but the reason why I did this is this, and this. I am my biggest advocate. The reason why I say that is for the Holy Spirit to give you a different heart positioning and to reveal to you the information that maybe you were not considering, because the Holy Spirit will convict, will check you, and will definitely help you. So I'm going to definitely share some caution. And the caution there is when you get that new perspective, that doesn't mean deny everything you have been seeing. It could be that we're maybe too invested in people that are not as invested as we are in the relationship. And I don't want you to beat yourself up. Like at the end of the day, information's information. And sometimes information can be hard because sometimes you're so convinced that you're doing your best and that it's the other person that you might not necessarily be working on the things within yourself that you need to work on for you, right? So when you get this information, please try to use the shift in perspective to help you figure out your next steps. And I hope that whatever step you take in communicating, in relationship, and whatever, that you're at least more gracious and just more balanced in what you want out of life. The reason why I kept bringing it back to you as a person is because as much as interactions with people tell us so much about them, it sometimes can really put a spotlight on maybe some things that we're going through and parts of ourselves that maybe we're not prioritizing. I also want to share one more thing. You cannot talk your way into staying in someone's life. Words have no impact if actions do not follow them. So as much as you want to over communicate, you really want to share what it is you're trying to share. Remember that if that person finds no value in your words, you're essentially just wasting your time. But also, I think the point of communication is to make sure it's effective and people are not really listening to you and they don't care for your words. Move on. Move on. Redirect the energy towards you. You're good. You're doing well. You're still worthy of love. You're still worthy of friendship. You're still worthy of respect. It just might be telling you that this might not be the person for you. And I know it's so hard because, especially when you want someone to be in your life so hard and you're literally changing so many things to have them stay a part of your life, that person also has to want to be there too.